I'm Larry Ray, President and CEO of American Manganese Inc., listed on the TSX Venture, ticker symbol AMY, A-M-Y, with proprietary patents in the U.S., China, and South Africa. Our focus is on recycling lithium-ion batteries for electric vehicles. China recently legislated the responsibility for recycling onto their electric vehicle manufacturers and importers. For more information, please visit AmericanManganeseInc.com or phone me, Larry Ray, at 778-574-4444.
GEM International is a new diamond explorer in the richest diamond producing country in Africa, located next to the fourth largest producing diamond mine in the world. International spotlight is on an 1109 carat diamond recently discovered in Africa by a fellow Canadian junior with a proven operator and finance team. GEM International trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol GI. Visit us at gemdiamondmining.com.
Welcome to the Goddard Report. Comments made on the Goddard Report and TalkDigitalNetwork.com are an expression of opinion only. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is Sharon Noble, Director of the BC Coalition to Stop Smart Meters. Welcome back to the show, Sharon.
Thank you very much, Jim.
The BC Supreme Court has made its ruling on whether you can go ahead with your class action lawsuit concerning smart meters. What was the judge's reaction?
The judge declined it. She failed to agree to certify it, primarily because she felt that the classes were too broad. What she had said, in essence, was that there have to be commonalities among the classes. And what our effort was initially, we felt that everybody, whether they had a smart meter now or whether they still have their analogs, should be given the choice of whether they want to have the device that they consider to be dangerous on their homes. Under the Charter of Rights, Section 7 in the Constitution, it says that people have the right to make fundamental choices about how they live, what they do personally, and this would include your home, which is your refuge, which is your sanctuary. And a major decision in her written decision was the fact that she said she believed this argument had merit, and she thought that it was plausible, that there is a basic right, the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, does apply. And her only argument, really, was that the classes were too broad. Now, I personally, now these are all just my personal comments, Jim, and I probably will get heck from our lawyer for making them, but personally, I believe that our classes weren't too broad. You know, these are people who have, whether they have a smart meter or whether they have an analog, no one has been given a choice, and everyone should have the choice to decide if they want to have a smart meter on their home. Many people aren't aware of the dangers. Many people don't believe that the dangers exist, so they would possibly choose to keep a smart meter. That should be their right. But for those of us who believe that there is scientific evidence that this microwave radiation is dangerous, or who believe that, you know, for whatever reason, we do not want to have these things in our home, we should have that right too. And this was the key point in our argument that the judge says is too broad, that everyone should have the right to make this choice. Instead, what she said was that this argument could be made on an individual basis, that if people want to come forward with it, you know, arguing the charter on an individual basis, she believes that there would be a basis. Now, as everyone knows, the purpose of a class action lawsuit is to enable people who either don't have the expertise, don't have the energy, don't know how to do it, or can't afford it, to have a legal right to protect themselves, to use the law that's there to protect themselves. And that's what we were trying to do. I think it's a bit of a stretch to suggest that people should take on hydro individually about this. This is something that is affecting all of us. And there's so much evidence saying that this microwave radiation, especially this microwave radiation, is dangerous. And I think that we need to, and we will. We're still discussing the possibility of going forward one way or another, because we believe very strongly that these meters, for several reasons, are dangerous and should not be allowed. And as you know, I've been talking about the radiation for a long time, but I've also been talking about the fire issue. The fire was not the crux of our class action lawsuit, because we began the lawsuit in 2012. And the way things go, once you start presenting your evidence and you've made your first submissions, things close off, so that it's very difficult to change the thrust of your argument, whether it's to introduce new information or to even start arguing, instead of just health, to also add fire. That would have added a lot of time to the class action development. It would have caused a lot of additional money to be spent. And we discussed this before too, Jim. The legal system is really, really geared in many ways against us, against the average person, and very much for the corporations. Hydro was able to bring in multiple lawyers, bring in, experts if they wish. They could keep this dragging on for years if they wanted, because they've got bottomless pockets. They've got our money to do this. We don't. We are limited to trying to find money from people who, were able to spend in, some people were able to send in $200 or $300. Some people were sending in $5. It all added up to enough where we could stage this class action lawsuit up to this basis, up to this stage at this point. It's not easy to raise money. And it's very discouraging when no matter how much you raise, they're going to have 10, 20, 30 times that amount at their disposal, because they're using our money.
Sharon, can you say how much you spent trying to get this class action to go through and how much it would cost to appeal the decision?
We don't know how much it would cost to appeal it, but so far we've spent about $100,000. We raised $150,000, and about $50,000 was spent on the human rights action, which also failed because the court felt that it was too broad. This is on the human rights for those people who are sensitive to radiation. And again, it was a basis, narrow your classes, try to be narrower, that there's no evidence that these are safe, which is what Hydro is saying. Now, when you read all of the articles, that the media is putting out, in many of them there are references or statements by Hydro saying that this proves that the smart meters are safe, that this shows that there's nothing to worry about. The judge never said anything about that. There is no such proof because it's not true. These meters are not safe. And the judge would not say something like that unless she had proof behind her. And there isn't any. So people should not take any assurance from this. They should not believe that this means that their homes are safe, that their property is safe, that their families are safe. They aren't. We still have health problems. We still will have many people becoming sensitive. And I can tell you, I get emails every day from people who are beginning to feel the effects of living in this polluted environment. And I'm also getting statements from people, one or two a week, where they believe that the smart meters are either overheating on their house, have melted on their house, where there have been some problems with the failing smart meters that are dangerous. And as I'm getting on this topic, I'd like to say that the BC Utilities Commission still, after 1 year, has not responded to my official complaint about the fire issue. So I think we've got a lot of things to continue to worry about, and nothing has been settled.
Now, have they told you why they've been so slow to respond to your fire complaint?
Well, no, they haven't. They sent that draft out in February that I mentioned. After 6-8 months of having my evidence. They finally sent a draft response out, and I'm releasing it in segments. People can read it on our website if they wish, www.stopsmartmetersbc.com, under newsletters. Over the last 10 nights, I've been putting in segments that show the BCUC's statements and then my refutation or expansion upon them. In that draft, and there's still more to come, in that draft report they made admissions like Hydro does not look at the failed meters. Hydro admits they've never looked at a failed meter. They take it off the house and they send it to Itron for replacement. They have no investigation of the meter to find out why it failed. And then Hydro says that they've never removed a meter from a scene of a fire. But yet I have documentation, and I provided it, that in more than 15% of the cases that I've reviewed and in which I've been able to get information, meters have been removed from the scenes of fires. This is against the law. BCUC admits that this is against the law, but it's being done. This draft report was damning, and BCUC is refusing to release it, to release a final version. They asked for my comments. I provided it. They asked for Hydro's and Fortis's comments. They provided them, which really weren't much at all, a couple of paragraphs. I provided pages of documentation to refute some of the things that they had in their report or to expand upon them. And they are not releasing it. I've been asking now since about April. I gave my comments the 3rd of March. I've been waiting, and since April I've been asking when they were going to release their report. Several times I was told by Patrick Rook, who is the communications and the complaints person with whom I've been in touch. He's been telling me that, he didn't know when the report was going to be available. He didn't know. So about 2 weeks ago I wrote and asked, is it ever going to be released? And he hasn't responded. So my guess is it's not going to be released. BCUC is going to stifle this information, even though they admitted in their report, finally, after years of pushing them on it, they admitted that it is their responsibility under the BC Utilities Commission Act to protect the public, to ensure that all of the devices that the utilities use are safe. And they're not doing it. They're not doing their job. And they did admit it. They did admit that they weren't doing their job, but they did admit that that was their responsibility in this draft report. And I think, personally, we should all be putting their feet to the fires. The directors of the BCUC are paid by the government, they're assigned by the government, but they work supposedly independently. They should be held liable for not doing their jobs. Who is protecting us, Jim? Nobody. And we can't even get the information about how fires are not being tracked. The fire commissioner isn't tracking them. BCUC isn't tracking them. No one even knows what's going on.
How frustrating is it for you to have this stone wall thrown up by the government?
It's extremely frustrating. I've spent so much of my time investigating fires, and it's not easy because the media isn't covering fires. They're not, when it first started, you'd on occasion see a smart meter fire in the headlines. They aren't doing that anymore. So anytime there's a fire, and there are a lot of people out there who are keeping their eyes open for me, whenever they see anything that sounds suspicious in their area, because I can't look at all the newspapers, they're sending it to me. And by suspicious, usually it's a fire that starts on the outside of the home, in the meter area, and it flashes very quickly up the side of the home and usually across the top along the home wiring. Sometimes the newspaper will say it started on the outside of the home at 2 in the morning. It usually is during the night, unfortunately, which is very bad for the families. Or they will say it's the electrical panel burned. Oftentimes they will say, we have no idea why it started. But if someone could get over, and I would ask people who are listening, if you hear that there's a fire in your area, please drop by with your camera or your phone and take a picture of the area around the meter. That can tell a lot, and send it to me. That can tell me an awful lot. And once I get information, this sounds like it's the least bit suspicious, I request the official fire report from the fire commissioner, which really doesn't tell anything. All it is it gives the codes for what they think is the fire, the ignition source, and this sort of thing. But as the firemen say, as the fire inspector says, if the meter's gone, and even if they are pretty certain it was the meter, if the meter's gone, they have to say undetermined. So I have many, I would say probably 50% of the fires that I get information on is undetermined for one reason or another. Maybe the meter burned up, maybe the meter was gone, maybe truly it was something that they just couldn't tell what it is. But this is the sort of information that's not gathered by the fire commissioner. On his report, you don't see how many are undetermined. But after I get the fire commissioner's report, then I go the next step and I go to the provincial government where a second report is supposed to be filed. And I'm supposed to have access to the insurance report and the inspector's report, but they're seldom there. And then I go to, if it's electrical, if there's any clue that it's electrical, I go to the BC Safety Authority because they're supposed to be doing a report. They're supposed to be called in if it's electrical. And I would tell you probably 2/3 of the time they're not called in. If it's an electrical fire, no electrical inspector is being called in. This is against the law as well. So yeah, it's frustrating, Jim, because I do all this work. I've got evidence of fires. I've got pictures of meters melting down the side of the house. I've got all sorts of reports from firemen and stuff, and nobody's paying any attention to it. And I don't understand why. These things are dangerous. We've got admissions from the industry itself that the designs of the smart meters are fire hazards. And even if they are certified by the Underwriters Laboratory in the U.S., they're still causing fires. The certification standards are not up to snuff, but the meters that are on our home are not certified. So that's neither here nor there. But, yeah, and it bothers me a lot, Jim. It bothers me morally to know that this is happening, and I can't get the word out to people. I can't get information into the media. I send letters out, I send press releases out, and the media will not print them. The only way I'm able to get word out is through shows like yours. And I hope that people will be very concerned and start getting involved here. We have to start pounding our MLAs. We have to start protesting major ways because property is being destroyed and lives are being put at risk about this stuff. It's very frustrating for me.
We'll have more with Sharon Noble right after the break.
I'm Larry Ray, President and CEO of American Manganese, Inc., listed on a TSX Venture, ticker symbol AMY, A-M-Y, with proprietary patents in the U.S., China, and South Africa. Our focus is on recycling lithium-ion batteries for electric vehicles. China recently legislated the responsibility for recycling onto their electric vehicle manufacturers and importers. For more information, please visit AmericanManganeseInc.com or phone me, Larry Ray, at 778-574-4444.
GEM International is a new diamond explorer in the richest diamond producing country in Africa, located next to the 4th largest producing diamond mine in the world. International spotlight is on an 1109 carat diamond recently discovered in Africa by a fellow Canadian junior. With a proven operator and finance team, GEM International trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol GI. Visit us at gemdiamondmining.com.
In Goddard we trust.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Sharon Noble. Sharon, was one of the frustrating things with the court case the fact that you were misrepresented on what you were trying to do using the Constitution and the right for personal safety? I mean, isn't that the reason that Insight, the supervised injection site for drug addicts, finally had an argument? And that took, what, a decade
Yep.
to keep that open?
Yep. Yeah, it's not easy. It's not easy to fight the government. It's very difficult.
Any suspicion that some of these reports, negative reports, are being quashed because we're going into an election and the government doesn't want any bad news?
Oh, that's very likely. But, you know, they've been squashing them all along. It's been a long time, Jim, since there have been any articles, any letters at all written about smart meters and the things that are happening. Very few articles and letters are in any of the newspapers across the province. And it's not because they're not being written. They are. They're just not being printed. They're not being published. And I don't know whether it's because the newspapers themselves are saying it's just not a hot topic anymore, or whether it's because the government is saying, stop it. You know, we've got money that we, put through advertising. Hydro is spending a lot of money with advertising. I don't know what the problem is. All I know is we can't get the information out. And I can also tell you that the NDP isn't very interested in it. They don't respond to anything. So, the NDP has an opportunity if they wanted to get out there. They get media time, and they have various topics they are attacking as they proceed toward the election, but they're not using this one just as they didn't use it last time. John Horgan and Adrian Dix have decided that they're all for the smart meter program. One of the very, very frustrating things, and I think I've talked this so often that you probably know exactly what I'm going to say, but they only talk about the costs. And with the danger of these meters and the fact that we have every right to ask for them to be recalled, all 1.9 million of them should be recalled and something safe put in their place. Horgan should use this to get the money back that we've spent. We spent over $1 billion, and it's never ending. The meters have a short lifespan, much shorter than they knew. The software is constantly having to be upgraded. We're going to have to spend millions and millions of dollars to upgrade cybersecurity, because they are faulty in that regard. And there's no savings. There are no benefits. We know that. So Horgan could use this to get our money back, get us our safe analogs back, but he won't do it. I don't know why. And I think that this is a major question that during debates, when people are talking to their MLAs, this is a question that should be asked. Why are you allowing this program that is going to cost billions and billions of dollars on the long haul? Why are they allowing this to happen? I don't think they've got an answer.
Sharon, is there anything else you wanted to bring up today?
Yeah, there's a study, a report rather, that came out earlier this week that I hope people will go online and look at. It was done. Let me check. I'm sorry, I'm going to babble here for a minute because I can't remember the fellow's name who did it, but it's a report on the effect of radiation from the cell and radio towers on migratory birds. The number of migratory birds and the wildlife are suffering big time. They said that the reduction in migratory birds is over 36% just in the last few years. And they've known that the lower levels of radiation from frequencies from FM towers, where we get our FM radio signals, even levels, and I give you this number, it won't mean anything really, but it's 0.0001 microwatt per square centimeter, can affect the birds. Now at FM levels, we are allowed to be exposed to 173 microwatts per square centimeter. 173 versus 0.0001. I think that people should be very concerned. The wildlife is being decimated. We knew that the bees were being harmed. Their navigational skills are being impaired. Their immune systems are suffering making them more vulnerable to viruses and things like that. And now the evidence is in that the migratory birds are being harmed seriously. It's pretty arrogant of us to think that all of these animals and insects and everything can be affected and we aren't. I would encourage people to read this report on our site, and they should be a little bit concerned. If they don't believe any of the other information that's coming out from the scientists, read this about the wildlife.
Sharon, can you tell us the name of the report about the bird so people can track it down on the web?
Yes, it's called Manville, Manville. That's the name of the professor who did the research. And it's 2016 Radiation Briefing Memo. And they can find it. It's easy to find. They can go on our website, www.stopsmartmetersbc.com. Go under newsletters. And it's under the update for July 17th. And the heading of that particular update is Migratory Birds Threatened by Microwave Radiation. And it's a very easy report to read. It's not all that technical. It's a very interesting study, and I think that it's an important one.
Sharon, what websites should people check out to get more information about smart meters and the possible or sometimes very real effects of microwave radiation?
The very real effects, you're right, Jim. We've got 2 websites. Most of the health information is on www.citizensforsafetechnology.org. The information on smart meters specifically is www.stopsmartmetersbc.com.
Sharon, thank you so much for being on the show.
It's always my pleasure, Jim. Thank you very much.
My guest has been Sharon Noble, director of the BC Coalition to Stop Smart Meters. You're listening to the Goddard Report on TalkDigitalNetwork.com. Find us on Twitter at TalkDigitalNet. Our popular YouTube channel is Talk Digital Network. Questions for the show can be emailed to info@howstreet.com. I'm Jim Goddard. Thanks for listening.
Comments made on the Goddard Report and TalkDigitalNetwork.com are an expression of opinion only. The Goddard Report is available online and mobile at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. The Goddard Report is a production of How Street Media Incorporated.